Your model 1200 will arrive in a shipping carton which will be strapped to a wooden skid. Inside of the shipping carton you will find 3 boxes. One box will contain a spare parts tool kit, another box will contain the elbows and the clamps, and the third box will contain the manual and the remote control box with cable. The box that contains the clamps and the elbows will be used to connect the nozzle assembly. The two 45-degree nozzles can be turned and adjusted to allow the fog to flow from the machine in any desired direction. The third box will contain a remote control box, a remote control cable assembly, and a manual. Throughout the video we will refer to this manual and the various diagrams that will contain useful information. After you have unpacked your Model 1200, you need to make the correct connections onto the 12-volt automobile battery. Make the correct connections from the remote control cable onto the remote control box, and the opposite end of the cable connects onto the machine with a twist lock type connector. Also make a ground connection onto the vehicle with this grounding strap. Next, you must put fuel oil, use number 1 or number 2 fuel oil, into this tank. This supplies the heating oil for the combustion chamber. The next step is to make the connection of the chemical pickup tube and the return line to a proper chemical tank. The chemical tank is supplied by the customer. The chemical must be an oil-based product. Submerge the end of the pickup tube into the chemical container and make sure that the lid is tightened. On the gasoline engine, make sure that the oil level is full. Add gasoline to the fuel tank and you are ready to begin operation. Insert the key into the ignition on the gasoline engine and turn it to the on position. It may be necessary to choke the engine if the engine is cold. After the engine has warmed up, then you can put it back into the run position. It should not be necessary to adjust the speed of the gasoline engine as it has already been preset at the factory. This is a 110-volt generator that produces AC current. It is driven from a pulley belt system off of the gasoline engine. When the engine is running, it will provide 110 volts to 125 volts of electricity, which is used to power the transformer which is located on top of the machine. This transformer will provide the voltage through 2 electrodes which provides the spark to ignite the oil. When the engine is running, you must observe that the voltage is reading 120 volts. To increase or decrease the voltage, it will be necessary to adjust the throttle on the gasoline engine to increase or decrease the engine speed. The gasoline engine's belt and pulley system also drives the formulation chemical pump. It's very important that the chemical pump never run dry. You must always make sure that the hoses are submerged inside of the chemical tank. On the chemical pump is a pressure gauge. This pressure gauge can be used in conjunction with the chart which is located on the machine to regulate the chemical output. By adjusting this valve, you can regulate and change the amount of the chemical output by observing the reading on the pressure gauge. On the remote control box, you will observe that there is an hour meter located at the top left-hand side of the box. The hour meter will be helpful in scheduling any required preventative maintenance for your gasoline engine. On the remote control box, you will see that there is a temperature gauge. This gauge monitors the temperature of the combustion chamber. In order to begin fogging, once the heater has been turned on, the needle must be into the green area. If the needle is not into the green area, or if the needle goes into the red area, the machine will not be able to do any fogging. To begin operation, put the machine switch into the on position, and you are ready to start the gasoline engine. After the gasoline engine is started and the engine is running smoothly, observe that the generator is putting out the correct voltage between 110 and 125 volts. You are now ready to turn on the combustion chamber heater into the on position. Observe that the temperature reading on the temperature gauge begins to climb toward the 1200 degree green area. It will normally take between 3 and 5 minutes to reach the required temperature of the combustion chamber. Once the temperature is in the green area, you are now ready to begin the fog. By placing the fog into the on position, you will observe that the fog will now begin flowing from the nozzle. Okay. Anytime that you are fogging and you wish to stop the fogging, just put the fog switch into the off position. To resume fogging, put the switch back into the off position. At the end of your fogging operation and you wish to shut down the complete machine, when the fog switch is off, it is necessary to turn the heat switch to the off position to allow for a cool down period. Simply by placing the heat switch into the off position, you will observe that the temperature will begin to drop. When the temperature gets near the 500 degree area, this is when you can turn the complete machine off. During the fogging, the combustion chamber will be very hot, as the temperature is approximately 1200 degrees Fahrenheit. This is the purpose of the cool down period required before shutting down the complete machine. To repeat the shutdown procedure, place the fog into the off position and the fog will stop. If at this point you wish to shut down the complete machine, place the heat switch into the off position. Monitor the temperature and assure that the temperature is below 500 degrees. Once the temperature is below the 500 degrees, you may now stop the gasoline engine and the complete machine by putting the machine switch into the off position. Now that we've covered how the machine operates and how the machine fogs, we'll now go back and take a look at several of the key components on the machine and their operations and procedures. This is the burner oil pump. Its purpose is to supply the oil to the combustion chamber. During the initial warm-up period, if you are having difficulty in reaching the required temperature of the 1200 degrees, it may be necessary to make an oil feed adjustment on the oil burner pump. This adjustment is made by using a flat blade screwdriver. By turning this adjusting screw in a clockwise position, this will increase the amount of oil going to the combustion chamber, which will increase the temperature in the combustion chamber. By turning it into a counterclockwise position, you can decrease the temperature. It is best when making any type of adjustment on this pump to only turn the screw about 1/4 to 1/2 of a turn at a time. Then wait approximately 2 minutes and monitor the temperature gauge to see the results of your adjustment. To the left of the burner oil pump is the delayed oil valve. The delayed oil valve is controlled by the heat switch on the remote control box. Below the voltmeter on the machine, there are 2 electrical outlets which can be used to hook up a trouble light or any type of an electrical appliance, such as a hand drill or any tool requiring 110 volt AC power. In the manual, you will see a photo of the electrode. The electrodes are located near the end of the combustion chamber. The electrodes receive its energy from the 110 volt transformer located on top of the machine. To remove the transformer, unloosen the bolt and flip the clamp out of the way. When removing the transformer, you must slide the transformer back and then in an up motion. You will observe that there are 2 electrical connectors on the bottom of the transformer. These electrical connections will slide in and out of the electrodes. Here you can see the electrode assembly inside of the combustion chamber. To remove the electrodes, it is necessary to unloosen the oil supply line as shown. Next, unloosen this nut. And the electrodes will lift out of the machine for inspection or adjustment. The gun assembly and the electrodes need to be inspected for dirt and also assure that the adjustments of the various electrodes have been adjusted to the correct position. These adjustments and inspection procedures are outlined in the maintenance manual. Here we show the location of 2 thermocouples. The thermocouples monitor and sense the temperature in the combustion chamber. After loosening this nut, the thermocouple can be pulled out for inspection. Sometimes it is necessary to inspect the chemical injection nozzle. To remove the nozzle, unloosen the 3 screws holding the nozzle into the tube, and the nozzle can be removed for inspection. This gap on the nozzle must be maintained. This nozzle gap is approximately 60 thousandths of an inch or 1.5 millimeter. The adjusting procedure is outlined in the manual. When reinstalling the injection tube, assure that it is pointing toward the front of the machine as shown here. These two 45-degree elbows that were packed with the machine can be added to the nozzle to allow fogging in any direction. The injection nozzle line is connected to the 3 solenoid valves. On the machine is 3 solenoid valves. The solenoid valve on the left is the drain solenoid. Anytime the machine is in the off position, it will open and allow any excess chemical to flow through the line and go through the solenoid valve and put into a container. When the machine is in the off position, the other 2 valves will be closed. Anytime that the fog switch is in the on position, the drain solenoid will be closed. This allows the chemical to flow from the pump through the 2 solenoid valves into the nozzle. Anytime that the fog switch is in the off position, the 2 solenoid valves here will close. The drain solenoid valve will open again to allow the overflow into the container. You will notice on the remote control box there is a switch, fog rate, low and high. The low position is to the left, the high position is to the right. This regulates the output of the chemical. In conjunction with these 2 solenoid valves, the pressure on the chemical pump, and the chart which is on the combustion chamber. An example would be if the pressure gauge has a reading of 100 pounds of pressure, observe that the chart will display the output in gallons per hour or liters per hour in relation to the pressure gauge. At the reading of 100 pounds per square inch on the pressure gauge, moving over to the right, you will see that the chemical output of fog will be 45 gallons per hour or 171 liters per hour when the fog rate switch on the remote control box is in the low position. If the fog rate switch on the remote control box is put into the high position, the chemical output would be 90 gallons per hour or 342 liters per hour. When this fog rate switch is put in the low or the high position, it is opening and closing these 2 valves. Also on the machine is a burner oil filter. This filters the fuel oil from the fuel tank to the burner oil pump. This filter should be checked as outlined in the instruction manual. This concludes the Model 1200 operations, service, and maintenance video. If you have any questions, feel free to contact Curtis Dynafog anytime.